think it's on. Is it on?
Okay. Do I hit the thing again and then again?
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So here we go.
Okay.
And this is edited, so if there's anything you want to take back, or if there's ever a moment we need to reset, no big deal.
Let's go this way.
Okay.
You're saying if I let slip a piece of juicy gossip?
Or just if you say something a little weird and you want to like just say the sentence again.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, sure. Okay. Trying that again. All right, we're still rolling. We're still marked.
I'm also trying to do a 2-shot.
This is a Doc Walks First. We are in Atwater Village, Los Angeles, California, with former Virginian, former Texan, current Californian, Megan Gilbride.
True enough.
Megan Gilbride on Doc Walks. It only took 25 episodes.
I was available during the doc and
No, you were available. We have wanted it, but it has taken this long to make it happen. But here it is. It's happening. So
You just wanted a reason to come to LA.
I love a reason to come to LA. This is a good one.
Yeah.
And I love any chance I can to spend time with you. We spend a lot of time together on Zooms, or more specifically,
So
Google
true.
Meets.
So true.
But not nearly enough time in person. And so today, Megan and I are back together again. We've already had pastries and coffee, so our day is off to a good start.
Shout out Proof Bakery.
So Megan, how do you feel being on Doc Walks?
Good. I mean, we're walking. It's a beautiful neighborhood. It's a beautiful day. And we're walking the streets I usually walk with my dog, but without my dog.
Ooh, this tree has eyes.
I mean, there's so much good stuff in the neighborhood.
On your left.
You're listening to Doc Walks with Ben and Keith. And so Megan and I have been working together since 2014.
It's funny because you know what? I was recently looking back. I always, in my lore, it was 2013, the fall of 2013, but it was actually the fall of 2012. The picnic meeting where you told me the concept for Tower and you said people didn't get it. And I was like, they're stupid. I get it immediately. I want to work on this.
Picnic meeting. That's what you call that meeting?
No, it was the picnic table outside. What was the name of that complex with the bread factory? Mrs. Baird's.
Oh, wild. That is not where I remember me. I remember me at the Flight Path Cafe.
You pitched me Tower. We were sitting at the picnic table outside. What's the name of that place?
Oh, it doesn't really have a name. Tillery. The Tillery.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Tillery building. I feel like whether I invented it or not, I remember exactly where I was sitting.
Okay.
And I always thought it was the fall of 2013, but it was the fall of 2012.
That makes sense. Okay, this is a great episode for me because I am walking and introducing you guys to, if you don't already know her, many of you do, Megan is the producer of Tower. She is a producer on A Song for You. She's the producer of Dear Mr. Brody. She's currently producing multiple projects at Gold Valley right now. And in addition to those things, she also is the producer of FATHOM. It's a beautiful film. It's like science mixed with art and all the great things, directed by Drew Xanthopoulos. Megan is the producer of Lovers of Hate, the 2010 Sundance Dramatic Competition entry by Brian Poyser. She's worked with Heather Courtney on Where Soldiers Come From. We need to get Heather on the podcast one of these days. And she's always got multiple projects going, in addition to being a like boots on the ground producer, a financial minded producer, a distribution minded producer. She's also an incredibly creative minded producer. So she's a multifaceted full package. And she's been working on everyone's behalf behind the scenes with Documentary Producers Alliance.
Oh yeah, also
since
true.
Shortly after they debuted. Megan, take it away. Ooh, what are we here?
This is the Pocket Park.
Okay.
It's a fantastic place.
So bring your kiddo.
Place to bring the kiddo.
So you remember that first conversation around Tower.
Yeah.
And we're coming up, Megan and I have, been in discussion with some folks about our movie Tower. Came out 9 years ago. We're in the process of looking at the distribution deal renegotiation after our initial window is over, kind of for moving forward. So that's the thing that she and I are talking about right now. And we're also looking at kind of finding a way to celebrate and mark the 10th anniversary of the film and utilize the film, bring the film to more audiences.
Which is also the 60th anniversary of the Tower shooting.
That's right. So it's tied in. Our film came out on the 50th. It's now 10 years later. You can do that math. You don't have to. Megan did it for you. That's why I work with her. But not only. What is your, how do you think about your role as a producer as it equates to our collaborations? Like, how would you describe what you do to an outside person who maybe knows that we've made a few films together?
I mean, I just want to be involved in every piece of it. As you said, I'm sort of obsessive about distribution and how that is a reflexive conversation with the financing, that those things are always in dialogue. And I think if you really genuinely don't know what your audience is and you don't know what your distribution plan is, how can you approach financing if you don't know what you need and why you need it and who's going to be reached by the project? So that's always a consideration, taking something on and us working together. Like, typically there's a significant amount of fundraising to do when we work together, and being able to sort of explain what the value proposition is to the folks who might finance us is vital to the work. Like, I like excellence. So it sounds maybe
Say more.
trite. I like excellence in the sense of it needs to be something new that people haven't seen before, which either means a topic or it means the method that it's told in. It's it has to be serving something that doesn't exist. And you just need to, when you're talking to financiers and talking to distributors, you need to be in context of that. So I feel like...
Which I always love hearing, I'm just going to jump in here, because I always love hearing that. Like when you're saying oh, I've got this new idea and nobody's done this before. I mean, I think there is no such thing as a new idea and everybody's done everything before.
Of course.
But oftentimes, in the same way that writing the grant solidifies the reality of the project, mapping the comps and triangulating what this is and is as valuable as figuring out what it isn't.
Totally. Although I'll say this, a thing that really drives me crazy in grant writing descriptions, when I've read and evaluated or when I've given feedback on somebody's application, when they say it's not this and it's not this, and I'm you have to know what it is. So you do have to know what it's not, but I think the entry point for that is what it is. And I think, it's what is the shooting style? And by the way, we're going to use anamorphic lenses is not a shooting style. My background in, fiction filmmaking, it really feeds my sense of documentary. And I think it should be a movie. I usually think it should be a movie in a theater. I think that's one of the things you and I really agree on, because you also are passionate about fiction filmmaking. What is an analog, or what is a scene, or what is a shot, or what is a moment of sound that you're oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. That gives you the goosebumps and you're I know we can do that in this project. And what that brings to it is emotion and an engagement and, trying to put the audience in the situation of the character who you're telling the story about, of the participant you're telling the story about. I think that's important emotionally, and I know that some people who really have a more traditional or journalistic sense of documentary, all of which I also love, that maybe it feels too, too surreal or too subjective. And for me, I feel I'm the most inspired and the most lit up by projects that place the viewer solidly in the emotional and experiential space of the participant, of the event or the person you're talking about. And I think that's a thing you and I really agree about.
Well, it is, and it's something that is really fun to talk about that doesn't come up in most kind of dry analysis of the documentary process.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
It's almost always what's the subject and what's the impact on the audience.
Right.
And that is valuable and necessary and certainly at the heart of everything we're doing. But remembering that this is a craft and that we're not, at least I'm not, and I don't think you are either, at least I don't think you present yourself this way, right? We're not journalists. And if we're journalists, we would create in a medium that focused on who, what, when, where, and why.
Right.
But we are oftentimes really focused on how. how are we going to approach this thing?
Totally.
And not to say that that separates us from the standard documentarian. I think we just put some emphasis on it that we take pride in, and it's a place of joint collaborative conversation.
Well, and it's like, I really want it to be organic, right? Like, I don't want it to sort of be like I do talk about the grammar. I write the word grammar in grant, or, you know, and whatever, decks or like grant applications all the time, because I really think, it's funny, because as a person who is like a word person, is an auditory thinker, and really not a visual thinker, like the grammar is so important to me because it also tells a story, right? Like the stage picture also tells a story. And, you know, when I say excellence, like that's what I mean. I think it should be the total package. So I think it should be like able to be financed. It's something that people should want to put their pants on to go see out of their houses, or like set aside, you know, 100 minutes to sit and watch. And I think what we have to do creatively is to drive that experience.
Right.
Is to say, you need to give it time, and we're going to try and we're going to try and show you a reason to be in that time. And it's like, you know, Tower, for the event that it's documenting, is so visceral, and the way that, you know, your kind of vision for what you wanted it to be is so in the moment and so experiential. And I think, you know, sort of, dare I say, like, you know, loud and immediate and immersive right away, whereas like Fathom is such a quiet movie. It's like the dynamic range of silences and dynamic sound. And so that's like requiring you to kind of like sit down and pay attention in a totally different way. And like same thing with Heather's, with Where Soldiers Come From, which was really the sort of second doc I ever worked on. Like, she's such a verite filmmaker. She really makes herself a part of the lives of the people that she's working with. She's so in tune with their emotional and experiential lives. And, you know, it's, okay, wait, hold on. Let's go this way.
Let's go that way.
That it's just, you know, like verite is so different than, you know, something with animation and archival heavy, something that is, you know, sort of like big, kind of big screen meditation. So those are all like different movies, but I think, again, we're trying to achieve excellence. And so I think when we are discussing, especially because I always say you're a maximalist, right? It's like, what is the maximalism offering us? Like, what is the archival offering us? What is the animation offering us? I don't know, I like to say, I think we've been really successful at having it be organic to the story, having it really have a relationship to what's going on in the film and who we're documenting, having it, you know, be emotional, and like all of that is important to me. Like, otherwise, you know, kind of what are we doing?
I love hearing you describe this. It is also very much how you work. Like, it is not just like, this is how I think about a thing and I talk about a thing, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the reality of the thing. You're doing a very good job of capturing the reality of our experience, because you ask a lot of questions. Obviously, all producers have to ask directors questions to arrive at budget numbers based on a production idea, to, you know, collaborate on a plan, to figure out distribution and figure out, you know, the outlook of the project. But the questions that I am challenged by when you ask, that are exciting because they force answers that I'm usually not quite ready for, but we need, is, you know, like the psychology of the story.
Yeah.
Like, I am a maximalist, and I'm also a fairly gut level.
Yeah.
Like, I'm driven by curiosity, but the curiosity is fed by or lives in my gut.
Like, I definitely can be like a, you know, big idea in the sense of like whistleblowers, right? But like, you're like, who is the person that is emotionally, like, we're hooking us in and attaching us right away? What is their experience that's doing that? And I think that's, you know, you really distill an idea with that framework. To me, that's the gut part of it.
Yeah, as well as the story. I just realized, like, I have to sit around a campfire and tell a story. And so
we both love a campfire.
Yeah, but
really...
that is literally what this is to me, right? It's not a news report. And that's the thing is, and that's why I make that distinction between journalism and the kind of filmmakers that we are, the kind of filmmaking we do together, because I do think, if I'm critical of the documentary world, which I can be, it's often that I think people fall too easily onto the journalism side of like, let me just tell you the who, what, when, where, and call that a film. And to me, like, I have such respect for the medium of visual storytelling that is born out of an emotional reaction.
Right.
And so I want to make emotional reactions because I want to have emotional reactions. I want to share emotional reactions.
Right.
And I want to understand the who, what, where, and why through emotion.
Well, but also too, like, I am equally offended by inauthenticity and provocation.
Yeah.
Like when it's clear that something isn't an organic moment, when it's clear that something is really set up, like it needs to have a reason to be really set up. I need to get something out of the artifice, like the ethics of how we're presenting people, especially given their, like what they're offering to us, right? Access to their inner lives and being respectful of that is also really important to me. And I think that's a thing we also talk a lot about. It still has to be ethical. It still isn't just provocation only. And that is a thing in filmmaking. Like if there's anything in doc that I really don't like, it's that. And that's like I definitely have said no to projects where I'm just like, this is just trying to be like to provoke people to a feeling. And there's just so much of that in our world and it doesn't create empathy. And that's just not my thing.
Well, so much of the ethics, again, Megan not only went to film school, but she taught film school for many years. I didn't go to film school, but I've watched a lot of movies and I've been working with movie people my entire adult life. And I think the ethics of filmmaking are actually relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the social contract that we have in almost all aspects of our lives.
Totally.
Applies here.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna invite someone to your house, right, you make sure the bathroom's clean and you have a snack on hand.
Totally.
And I know that we're on the same page when it comes to ethics, but at the same time, we've also never tried to do a story that has like significant like gotcha elements.
100%. 100%.
Either on camera with the subject matter or really for the audience. Like we're not trying to like pull the wool over anyone's eyes or like set up a false dichotomy and then pull the rug on that.
Right.
I started out by asking you like, how would you describe what you do? How do you describe the role of a nonfiction producer in 2025?
Well, we were just over pastry talking about like, why does a movie need to exist? Why does a story need to exist? I think so many of us are overwhelmed by choice. And while it's wonderful to have access to, decades worth of media, to have a channel that's like just the Golden Girls 24/7 or just Matlock 24/7, I think it makes stories more disposable. And I think that, breaks my brain a little bit in a way that I think I'm still kind of noodling on, but also knowing that like there's just far less space for financing. People don't want to do theatrical for documentary. And then you are thinking about like, how does the audience stay engaged? I think we walked this way.
We did. We came from that way. We walked that way.
I think we'll try and go that way.
Check it out.
So I think, financing is hard. There's a lot of consolidation. There's not a lot of places that are financing because a lot of people have been fired from the consolidation. There's a lot of people trying not to be fired, which means, I think like a lot of meetings and not a lot of movies. And, curation is the piece that's broken. That's the part that's driving all the other back end stuff. So that's why it's a music doc or a celebrity doc or a, you have to have like brilliant filmmaking plus a branded topic plus like a reason to be with the branded topic. Like it's not even enough that it's a famous musician or a celebrity. It has to be, some other thing. And while I really love, the invite the participation of the folks who are giving their time to be in our films, in the way where like that is sort of one of the hallmarks of respecting them. I think a lot of the stuff where, the family or the, participant, the subject has a much more of an editorial voice can often kind of result in a lack of authenticity. And that's a thing I think we have to kind of be mindful of in the work that we're doing. So it's hard out there. It's hard. And I think all of us have to be thinking deeply about why we're making what we're making and thinking deeply about who our partners are. And I think participating in some level of advocacy to protect what we do. Like the stuff on PBS, Independent Lens and POV, to lose CPB I don't even think people understand how much that's been a backstop for American filmmaking for such a long time. I don't think people know how much that has supported all of us in our development as filmmakers and the work that we make. I don't think people understand it yet. It's sort of like the best and the truest documentary filmmaking that we make as a country.
The reality is it is tough out there, and financing is the hardest, and we've lost our backstop.
Right.
I totally agree with you that people don't realize, you know, like we both started with ITVS, with PBS. We will have long relationships with them if they continue to be there
Right.
in one way or another. But at the same time, we also
Got it.
started working at budget ranges that were above
Right.
what ITVS and PBS. So it really served an incredible purpose in that sense, from my selfish point of view, right? Like helped get the ball rolling, inspired, and then supported, and then distributed.
Yes.
And then we stepped into a different realm
Right.
and allowed space for other people to kind of keep into that system, right?
Totally.
And I'd like to be back in that system. So I have nothing against it. Believe me, I'm not too good for CPB's money or PBS's airwaves.
Well, and this is, you know, speaking of a thing I do say to filmmakers who are looking for distribution advice or people I talk to in classes, you know, people want that, you know, the capital S streaming deal, the global streaming deal, because that's awards campaign and prestige and money, but nobody's going to see your movie more than when it's on PBS. Like we got the Carriage Reports on Tower, and it was 2 million people across multiple demographics. And when we were so lucky because we were in this moment where we could do theatrical and streaming and broadcast, and we had those rights divided. So we had great champions in each of those spaces. Like that really was like a kind of bonkers lucky moment where we were able to negotiate that. You know, no one's going to see your movie more than when it's on PBS, even now. You know, sometimes the most lucrative deal isn't the deal that gets the movie into the world. And we've really done a lot to manage those kind of sometimes conflicting forces.
Yeah.
I think the other thing when I talk to people, like, I've been a Grim Reaper on film festival panels for, you know, over a decade.
Yes.
Like, I've been telling people, I don't think I say the thing that like actors say of like, if you can do anything else, get out. But I think the piece of advice that was the piece of advice 10 years ago has kind of come back around of like, are you doing commercials? Are you doing branded documentaries? Are you teaching? Are you, like, what are the other things you're doing? Because the road has gotten longer, and the road, like, there was this great moment, whatever, the quote unquote golden age, where you could basically, you know, be a mid-career person and make kind of a mid-career salary making docs, and they get out into the world and get seen, and that moment, you know, that bubble burst real fast. And in a way, it's almost, I'm not going to say worse than it was before that kind of moment, but I am going to say that maybe there's more people who kind of got through the gate than the gatekeeping that was at that time, but it's not that much bigger. The gate is not that much bigger. And also too, it's like, if there's a volume of projects, they're all getting done out of the same place, which is kind of not unlike a thing that PBS got dinged for a few years ago. You know what I mean? Like
Too homogenous.
Right, too much the same filmmakers. But in the kind of non-PBS space, you don't kind of get to call out the companies for doing that because they're private institutions.
Right.
Also too, I think because people watch docs more, people are less willing to kind of give you themselves. Or if they give you themselves, it isn't, you know, like there's special people who are willing to give you access to themselves and can really be genuine and kind of comfortable in a way. And part of that is what we do, and part of that is sort of their outlook on the world. So, okay, this is my favorite.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
Oh, they're getting a delivery.
Do you live here? Do you live here? Oh no, you're getting, yeah, okay.
Oh, homeowner's coming down.
I've never met anyone who lives here.
Do you want to say hi?
There's like a little, like, prayer space right here.
Here, turn around on you. Let me see you again. No, you on the, press the little button. Yeah. Here we go.
I love this. It's the smell of these trees is part of it. Can you see? It's terrible.
Make your move,
It's
make your
just
move.
Somebody's house, but I love this. But it's just like it has these juniper trees, and it just it smells amazing. I think you kind of can't get the smell quite right now, but just like the water feature, it's usually really quiet right here.
All right, we're creeping on this house.
I know, we really are creeping on this house.
I love going on a scout with you. Okay, so you produced all these projects out of your home in Austin in the years after finishing up at UT grad school.
Mm-hmm.
You were a member for
Oh wait, I want to say a thing about that.
Please.
Because in the conversation you guys did with Paul,
Yes.
Ben was talking about a terrible review.
Megan is referencing, I believe, episode 19. Don't hold me to that. With Dr. Paul Steckler.
Dr. Paul Steckler. So Ben was talking about his like end of year review and talking about wanting to make Winnebago Man as a film. And I forget which one of you guys was like, name check the professor who thought it was a bad idea.
Uh-oh.
And it was Colleen Smith. And I have to say, not in the review, but close to the end of my career at UT, Colleen taught a class where she talked a lot about grammar, and it was a really amazing class. And she's an amazing filmmaker. But so she just, oh, hello. Lots of dogs with feelings in the neighborhood. I know, you're beautiful. You're beautiful.
Okay. Back to Colleen.
So I was sitting with Colleen. I think, we were probably giving notes on my thesis film, which was a fiction film. All the films I made in grad school were fiction projects.
And were you there at the same time as Ben?
No, I was there before Ben was there.
Okay.
So Colleen just looked at me and she said, why aren't you a producer? And because it's primarily a directing program, I think I was lucky to be in my career in grad school to be able to receive that comment or that question. But she was the person who knew to ask it. And like, I've been meaning to reach out to her to be like, that you kind of changed my life with like asking that question. So
Well, I want to dig into that moment. So you're in grad school.
yeah,
You are in a program that is teaching, Master of Fine Arts in filmmaking, but like you said, it's a director's program.
right.
And your focus is fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think one day this professor, Colleen, who I don't know, what did she say, you're a producer, or why aren't you a producer?
Why aren't you a producer?
Why did she say that?
Okay, well, many reasons, I think. Number one, very immediately, I started working on my fellow students' work, like first as an AD, like I second AD'd PJ Revol's pre-thesis film that had like 60 extras that I helped cast, and I was like cueing all of them in this one master shot, and it was sort of, like I didn't go to the bathroom or drink a drink for 8 or 9 consecutive hours, and I knew every single person's name, and I had the best time. And it was so fun. And then I went into like first ADing, and then I don't know that I ever, here, it's gonna get loud, but let's go up here just for funsies.
Sure.
And then I don't know that I ever properly produced someone else's work. I think I was a good producer of my own work, definitely a better producer than a director of my own work, but I learned a lot directing. Like I think it's really valuable to understand what kinds of questions you need to know. And actually, Alex Smith, who was another professor at UT, he used to, I'm gonna do the thing, he used to do your job is what's in this space, right? Like that's what your job is. And I think as a producer, my job is sort of like what's in that space and then everything around and behind that space.
For our listeners, I'm just going to jump in here. Megan was classically extending her forefinger from her thumb, and by doing that with both hands and reversing one, she was creating a 16:9 picture frame.
Yes.
And looking through that frame, glowingly imagining a future. It is how I assume everybody in Los Angeles walks around all the time, with those four fingers extended.
No, I think now they
moving
just
through the
walk
frame.
around with their iPhones and not even with those apps that like give you the 25 millimeter or the 35 millimeter, like the first project I edited at UT, I edited on a Steamback, and I effing love editing on Steambacks. Like the magic, it's like when you're loading up a scene back, and sometimes when you're in the Avid, you just slap a piece of music in there and you play it, and it's like a transcendent thing happens, or like two clips are next to each other and like a transcendent thing happens, and like you have to be willing to receive that. Like I always say, like let the footage talk to you. Like you have to let the footage talk to you. That's part of the authenticity. Like you can't know everything. That would be a fiction film.
Right.
So, and in a fiction film, it's so hard to know everything, and some people's process is to discover it and let accidents happen, and some people's process is to be, Hitchcock level prepared. That's what I think that maybe like that's what I got for producing, out of directing my own stuff.
Yes.
Right, was like that moment of being visited, like in that space in PJ's pre-thesis film with the 45th extra, when I was like, oh, I see the connective piece that's happening with our main actors, and I'm going to send the kid in the foreground, or I'm going to send the lady in the background. I'm going to, like the luggage has to cross frame right in this moment. Anyway, I think I had all these experiences where I'm a creative person, I'm a supportive person, I'm a nurturing person, but I like excellence. And in addition to that, I love all of the financing and distribution. Like I'm a geek for the financing structure, and I'm a geek for how you're going to get the thing out in the world, and who the audience is, and where they are, and how do you connect with them, and how do you meet them. And that's, speaking of a thing that's troubling to everybody we know, like, who doesn't know how to connect to the audience? Warner Brothers and Paramount. They have billions of dollars in marketing funds, and they don't know how to reach the audience. It's funny because I have said, there's a director kind of crazy and a producer kind of crazy, and I'm the producer kind of crazy. And that's all the things like the financing and the budget. By the way, another thing I say is the budget tells a story. Like my budgets tell a story, and it's very hard for people to like push in and be like, what about this and what about this, and have me not have an answer. And that's when I say, like, the director has to understand what the vision is. We have to agree on what it is, because that's the only way to make a budget, is to know clearly what the vision is. So you can sort of make,
You're doing great.
You can make like a series of numbers. Anyone can do that. But when the budget tells a story, that's when people can really be really confident to put, let's go. We did also do the stretch.
It's okay.
Let's just go down this way. We'll sort of say on the shady side if we can.
In the shade.
The budget tells a story, and that's when the financier understands that you're going to take good care of their money. Like that's important. That's important to me. Like everything is a risk. Nothing is a done deal. So I, walk into the meeting and say, do you want to make fucking cinema, or do you not want to make fucking cinema? Like, we want to make fucking cinema. Do you want to make fucking cinema with us? Like, you might as well set the money on fire, because again, all these big companies don't have enough money to kind of like figure out how to connect with the audience. But like, if you want to make cinema and be proud of something that you made and have it live on in some way in the world, like, let's do that. Do you want to make fucking cinema is the question I want to ask.
Pretty sure that's going to be the name of the episode.
we could go this way. We'll go across one more and then go up.
I want to make cinema.
Right.
And I want to figure out how to do things the old way, right? To make theatrical documentaries with long tail lives that impact people, and that people who love fiction films and don't see a lot of documentaries cross the aisle to kind of come see.
Yeah.
But I also want to have a long career that is sustainable into the 21st century, and not just trying to maintain a 20th century point of view.
Correct.
It feels like everyone I talk to is either all in on one or all in on the other.
Yeah.
And
you can't be.
And I don't want to be even all in on one and like shrug into the other because I have to, right? I want to figure out a way to have one foot in both.
Yep.
And realize that, like, oh, this is actually a path, and it's not.
I think it'll be shadier if we go across the street.
Okay. So, that's my question to you.
Yeah.
Is how
do you be solidly in both?
Well, how do I get this done? Okay, there we go. That's my question to you, is how, geez. So,
You're really doing like a lot of workout.
I know. Everyone always worries you about like working with dogs and kids, and actually it's wide angle lenses that you gotta look out for.
Exactly.
Okay, so I want to figure out how to have one foot in the old way, and we're still always driving to like cinema, making cinema. We want to present our work in VistaVision, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But
although not for no reason. I don't want to shoot a wide format if there's no wide shots in the fucking movie. And there's a particular film that I feel I hate producing inefficiency. And that's one where it's like a director who has a lot of power, like there is a decline of producing. And to me, it isn't about like I don't like oppression on either side. I like constructive conflict. And if I were a producer and we made a plan to shoot on 70 millimeter and somebody brought me the boards and there wasn't a wide shot, I'd be like, but there's no fucking wide shot. So why are we doing 70? 35 will do these great mediums just fine. And so I don't like that. Sorry.
It's good to have an opinion. But I do wonder, right? We're walking around with these little rinky-dink cameras, but my goal isn't to make cinema out of podcasting. It's not even really my goal to make cameras out of podcasting. That's something Ben talked me into.
I know, yeah.
You can see I'm having problems with it right now. But how do you and I, as collaborators, look at the marketplace, look at the stories that we're excited to tell, and find an audience in a 21st century way?
Okay, so find an audience, as I said, still a multi-billion-dollar project that no one has solved. That's a big question, but dovetail to that. So one of the reasons why I love The Princess Bride, right? It was a book written by William Goldman, and then it became a movie written by William Goldman. And the thing is, William Goldman is, speaking of a person you and I align over, he's a great novelist, and he is a great screenwriter. And the thing is, the book does things in fiction storytelling that only a book can do. And the movie does things in movie storytelling that only a movie can do. And that is what's important about...
Ooh, should we hit this alley?
Well, we can. I want to say there's one more street here. Let's go down this alley.
And that is what's important. I always interrupt at the pivot moments.
No, it's okay.
And that is what's important. A book can do what a book can do, a movie can do what a movie can do, and that is what's important.
And that's what's important about when we talk about collaborating in the potential new media that we have access to, is like, we talk a lot about this. Is this a fiction film? Is this a documentary? Is this a podcast? Is this an article? Is this a short? Is it a feature? One of my classes at UT, it was all short filmmaking. And I was like, stop watching features for this year of your life. Watch shorts. And I made all my students present on a short that they love, because it is an entirely different filmmaking grammar. You have to establish character and setting in the first 15 seconds of a short if you want it to be good. Like, you're so good of not making work that is episodic, but understanding that you have to kind of always be building and pivoting for the audience to stay engaged in a feature story. And the story itself has to have those layers. It has to require that. And more than one time I've been, impossibly cruel, where I've walked out of a film festival screening and said, they only made one mistake with this movie, and it was that they should have made a short. And that's not a nice thing to say, but stories, they let the footage speak to you, let the story speak to you. Like, a project I finished this year was a film called The Plea. It is a short doc, it's 24 minutes, but it's data visualizations, and it's about the eradication of smallpox. And it's such an important story, and it became so much more political over the time that we were telling it, like in a way that I couldn't have anticipated. And the filmmaker, the director who narrates the videos, and he's like a data visualization and graphics kind of expert, he has 350,000 YouTube subscribers, and it's a movie I get choked up watching, and it's really different than the work that you and I do together, but it's speaking truth and beauty and positivity, because it was a great human story that people came together across the globe to spend the money and do the challenging effort to eradicate smallpox. That is a disease that people don't die from. And what that means is people don't understand how they die from it, which, by the way, is sort of what FATHOM's about. If you were to drop a humpback whale into the ocean today and there were no other humpback whales, it would die, because they, like us, they need the community. That's how we live. That's how we've evolved.
You just tied together your smallpox short, which I need to see, and FATHOM, which I love, thematically, in that there's a story that you have found yourself telling one way in this film and another way in this film. And I have a belief that every filmmaker is telling the same story over and over again in one way or another.
Well, and I think Tower's about that.
Yeah, okay, keep going.
Well, no, I think Tower is about it's about people who reach out to each other, right? We have such a zero-sum society now. I hate to say it, I'm like, we're not watching sitcoms where the siblings fight and at the end they learn a lesson and they come together. We're watching reality stars say, I'm not here for anybody but me. And we have that kind of society now. We have that president now. And the thing is, like, the people in Tower, again, I just get goosebumps thinking about them. There was community there. There was community on that day. We've never done a screening. I've never been to a screening where somebody didn't come up to me afterwards and say, my uncle was there, my cousin was there, I was there.
Or I was at another place where this happened. I was at a grocery store that got locked down.
Yes.
My son went to Virginia Tech.
Yes.
Or my daughter is a teacher at Columbine High School today. And this is a part of their culture, whether they want it or not.
That's the thing, is the film is about people caring for each other and doing profoundly heroic work to save each other. And I do think that that's us. And I think it could be us. And I think if we chase that in us, then that's our purpose. So yeah, I don't know. I think Lovers of Hate isn't quite about that, but it is about people who are not chasing that, and how that fractures them, to a degree, in a kind of interesting and dark and funny way. So, yeah, I'm not one of those out for me people, for better or worse. I'm not.
This is a business of tangibles and intangibles, and if you're not happy being paid in intangibles, you're in the wrong business. Unfortunately.
Certainly in docs.
Yeah.
Certainly in that work.
So I love that you've recognized that story in you. When did you recognize that?
That's the thing, is I'm not prolific. I'm very hands-on in all the work that I do. I struggle with that as an idea, that I don't make a high volume of work. But there's very little that's come out in the world where I have that intense jealousy of, I wish I'd made that. I should have made that. I'm super happy for those filmmakers who have made it, and I love everything I've made. And I try and chase that. And so it's interesting because I don't know until just now that I really articulated that as a theme, although it was certainly a theme of the Doc Intensive this year. We really talked about how we could build community, especially between career filmmakers and emerging filmmakers. And I know that's a buzzword kind of everywhere. Also, it's the thing that keeps us alive, right? It's the Surgeon General being you don't have community, you're gonna die.
All right, we are back. This has been a Doc Walks First. Megan and I have been walking all around Atwater Village, but due to my negligence of not charging the batteries on the camera, we ran out of battery. Welcome back to Doc Walks. We are not walking, we are Zooming. This is Doc Zooms between Keith and Megan, because when we were walking in Atwater Village, I forgot to charge the batteries on the camera and the batteries ran out. So
first AC fired out of the job.
That's right. You'd think with the budget we have, we'd have backups and contingencies. But so we ended abruptly our walk and talk, and it was lovely, and I was enjoying it immensely. But now we're back together here on Zoom. And I just want to hit you with some lightning round of questions that we like to wrap up our episode with. Lightning round. What is the gateway drug film for you, Megan? What was the film that you remember from your childhood, early days, that said, I want to do that, or I want to go there, or I want to be a person who makes a thing that does a thing that this thing did to me?
I've always been in love with the movies. As do many folks who know me, that I have a lifelong obsession with Jaws. And I think Jaws is fantastic. And in 9th grade, I wrote a paper that was after our reading of An Enemy of the People by Henrik Ibsen. And the paper I did was a direct comparison of the Chappie Ferry scene, where the whatever mortician or the medical examiner says this could have been a boating accident, and because the mayor says it should have been a boating accident, with the scene from Henrik Ibsen. And later I was like, oh, this is like Peter Benchley's book, and then it was Carl Gottlieb wrote the script. And so I couldn't be right about this, but literally 40 years later, Carl Gottlieb was quoted as saying it was a mix between Enemy of the People, and then he quoted some monster movie. And I was like, all right, I like that, 14-year-old Megan was hip to the Henrik Ibsen references in Jaws. But all kinds of movies. It's hard to know when I tipped over into wanting to make movies. I think two seminal ones that I consumed around the same period, one was a doc and one was fiction film, was another movie I'm obsessed with, All That Jazz. Again, Roy Scheider. So keep the connection to Roy Scheider, brilliant in Jaws, also brilliant as Bob Fosse in All That Jazz. If you've never seen it, you should see it. It's some of the best editing. So that's one of my all-time favorites. But then I also saw The Life and Times of Harvey Milk. And I remember via the IFC channel, which we all kind of got to have access to, I remember just like sitting on the floor of my living room, sobbing, watching that movie because it was so good. And luckily, I got to meet the filmmakers years later at Sundance. But I think those were gateway drugs, although I will also out, I think it's Legends of the Fall. What's the one where Brad Pitt dies at the end because he fights the bear?
Spoiler alert. Is it
Is
A
it-
River Runs Through It or Legends
Okay,
of the
maybe it's a
Fall?
River Run. It's one of those two, River Runs Through It or Legends of the Fall. And I'll say it only because I remember being like, this is how this scene should have been directed. This was not actually well directed at the end, and I was like redirecting it. And so I think it sticks
Well,
in
I
my
hope it's
mind
not
as,
A River Runs Through It because Redford isn't around to take your critique at this point.
I mean, I love him. All the President's Men, also a movie I'm obsessed with. So his milieu, The Sting, like his milieu, his oeuvre is one I'm very into. But whichever movie it was that at the end where the bear attacks him in the woods, I was like, this didn't totally land. They could have done this better, and I was redirecting it in my brain.
When you look at a project, what grabs you most about knowing as a producer, I want to sign on? If a director, if one of our listeners says, that's the lady that's going to help me get my idea across the finish line, that's the lady whose voice I need in my ear, what's going to make you say yes to a project?
I mean, it isn't only one consideration. It is the people making the movie. Life is too short. Making movies is very intimate work. I don't desire to spend time with terrible people who think treating others in a bad way or manipulating other people is a way to work. I don't feel that that's ethically right, and that's not how I operate. It has to be creatively excellent and inspiring because you have to want to spend a lot of time with it, and that is hard to nail because I get distracted easily, and it's a long road carving that marble. So I love it to be creatively excellent, where we're really like pushing ourselves to do interesting things, and all of it comes organically from the story. It's not just us like throwing shit at it. And I have to feel like I can fund it and we can sell it and people want to watch it. And that's the thing that's become so hard lately. And so on the one hand, I don't want barriers to that to dictate the work that I want to make, that I get inspired by, and people I want to collaborate with. But it has to be a consideration for me as the producer.
Yeah. What we all know it's a tough time out there right now, tougher than it's ever been, maybe, or maybe just as tough as it's always been. I'm not sure. But what is like a positive piece of encouragement you can give somebody that that is trying to decide whether or not they should make a documentary, whether or not they should commit to taking their idea and making it somebody else's problem?
I don't think it's harder than ever. I think it's harder than it's been recently when a number of us, who fell in love with movies and came into this career thinking it's a career. I think it's challenging in that moment, but people know how to watch docs in a way that they never did before. And people perceive docs to be right on par with their favorite fiction films if it really turns them on. And I think that's such an opportunity space. So it's tricky because people are getting flooded with things that they might want to watch constantly all day long on platforms that we could never have imagined of 25 years ago. But people know how to watch these stories now. And I think that is such an exciting opportunity that you can come out of the gate with something that you're passionate about, that you create in an excellent way, and people will be there for it. People will, there's no barrier to entry of like, oh, it's a doc and I don't watch docs. I think that has totally collapsed. And that's such an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, so lightning round here. What's a doc that came out in the last 10 years that you wish you were a part of?
This is actually a thing that I don't frequently have the instinct, honestly. I'm very picky about the work that I make, and usually my instinct is, I love that, I'm so glad it came out, and very rarely is it like, why that one slipped through my fingers, or why didn't I make that one? A movie that really profoundly inspired me, that I love the way that they made it, and I would have loved to be on it, is The Reason I Jump, which is a
Oh,
movie that very few people have seen because it came out at Sundance 2020. It is filmmaking excellence at peak. It is fantastic access. It's great storytelling. It is innovative in the sound design. It's innovative in the way that they shot it. And I tell people constantly to watch that movie because it's not, I don't think it's underrated. I think people just don't know it exists. And it's
Give us the one-liner and what that one's about.
The reason I jump is about children with profound autism who mostly have nonverbal autism, and it is based on a book that was written by a Japanese child with autism who basically dictated a book, and so it's been translated, I think, into 40 languages, and it's just really gorgeous and really evocative, and it's great filmmaking.
I'm going to have to see that. When you first said the title, I was thinking you were talking about that movie, which I now realize is The Bridge, which is
Oh,
about the reasons people jump off of the Golden Gate Bridge. And then there's also a Japanese book, a Japanese doc about people who go into like the suicide forests of Japan.
yeah.
I haven't seen that one. I want to see that one, whatever that one is. If you're listening and you know what that one is, let us know. But if
I feel
not,
like that came out right after that movie that we saw, the Silences movie
uh-huh.
at the Dallas
that
Film
movie too.
Festival.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I love, I love a movie.
Which then brings us to Sam Green's 32 Sounds and documentary
it.
that I still want to make. It's not even on our board, but it should be, which is all about vibration. I want to do a documentary that's all about vibration. Will you do that with me?
Yeah, let's go stand outside during a parade and feel those like snare drums shake you as a child.
That's a great opening scene. Megan Gilbride, I can talk to you for hours. I actually have talked to you for hours already today, and we'll probably talk to you for more hours tomorrow. But for our listeners, is there anything that you want to leave us with, or is any ideas that we didn't get into, or anything you wish we had talked about, or anything we should plan to talk about on the next episode? Or just do you have any parting words?
I don't know that I have parting words. I think like go to church. You know what I mean? Watch movies. Like that'll really and when I say go to church, I mean watch movies. Like watch movies in a silo in a place where you can sit down and have an experience. If you can do that with other people in the room. Oh, okay. Sorry. Another one I want to mention is the New York export OPUS JAZZ. I had in 2010, I had some really phenomenal festival experiences, and South by programmed a couple of movies I really loved that like you could kind of only see in the festival circuit. And that was one where I kind of went to church. New York Export OPUS JAZZ is, again, one of the best shot movies you'll ever see. Totally gorgeous. So like, listen to this and then hang up and find a movie that somebody told you was great and just sit down and give it all your attention.
If you haven't seen Megan's work, go check out Dear Mr. Brody, check out Tower, definitely check out Fathom. It's up on Apple. And tell us about the smallpox film and where the future that has.
Oh, yeah. The Plea, it's on YouTube, so anyone can watch it right now. It's 24 minutes, and the director's name is Neil Halloran, so you can look for Neil and The Plea on YouTube.
Great, and we're going to actually put the link to that in our show notes of this episode, so you can go watch The Plea. And you can look forward to another time when Megan and I will walk together again. Maybe Ben will join us on that one. I think we did it.
We did it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I will talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right. Thanks, Doc Walks. Next time on Doc Walks. We are going for a walk, Ben.
No way, Keith.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it with
The one, the only, the hardworking
Chelsea Hernandez.
Chelsea Hernandez.
Next time on Doc Walks is Chelsea Hernandez. She's an Austin filmmaker. She's a director. She's an editor. She's a member of the Brown Girls Doc Mafia. She got her start in PBS. We have collaborated together before.
So she's got a lot to tell us, and she's got a lot of irons in the fire.
Tune in next time on Doc Walks for Chelsea Hernandez. Ding, 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 ding. And Doc Walks is produced, directed, and edited by me, Keith Maitland, and this guy, Ben Steinbauer.
Hello. And we also have Dayton Thompson, our co-producer, and then we have an army of interns helping us at Go Valley, and we have our friends at The Bear helping us out.
Follow us at DocWalksPod on Instagram, X, and YouTube.
And we'll see you next time.
We hope we have you guys listening. Are you there?
Is this thing on?
Not anymore.